people can't see. I listened to that and I just thought, this is a guy that continuously tries to play the victim. He's moaning about stuff that, one, didn't even happen, two, is within a contract that he signed up to. And, you know, I just felt like the mask slipping. I mean, the stuff about the ambulance was the wildest thing. And that will be retracted. I promise you that. The Robert Smith stuff, I'm listening to it going, this has just got fine written all over it. I mean, the accusations that Robert Smith allowed a set of gloves. They are gloves that are approved by the British Boxing Board of Control, that have been for years, that are used by dozens of fighters. And what you expect Robert Smith to not approve them because Chris Eubank's worried about a bit of horsehair in them, which everybody uses. You know, he was delayed to the stadium. I mean, can you imagine? He doesn't even know that in a situation with a paramedic and the board, there is a complete log of every single minute of what happens during that process, right? What does he think? That I go to the paramedics and the board and say, listen, mate, can you do me a favour? Can you delay the ambulance for 20 minutes so he can't go? It's absolute. And if you're not the brightest spark, you're listening to that shit, going, oh, that's terrible, they've done that. And I'm not having it. So that will be dealt with. You know, the fight is the fight. The fight is a thriller. The first fight was a fight of the year contender. And for me, you're going to get exactly the same next time, but we just need a little bit more smartness from Conor Benn. The heart's great, but don't be so reckless and wild when you can outbox this guy. And he's brought in Bomac, one of the best trainers in the world. What does that tell you?
What do you make of that?
Because he knows he's got to be better. If he's not better this time, he loses. And, you know, he's taking it seriously, and so he should. It's a real fight.
Eddie, a pretty scathing attack to Robert Smith as well. I mean, what do you make of that?
Listen, I'll tell you something now. The British Boxing Board of Control, for me, are one of the best commissions in the world. They have a horrendous job dealing with me, dealing with other promoters, dealing with their members. And Robert Smith is 1,000,000% fair every time and all about the best interest of boxing. What he has done up there is he's called Robert Smith a scumbag. He has said that they've basically tried to just like jeopardise his fight, allowed Conor Benn to use gloves that can... It's not up to Robert Smith about what he's got in his contract with Seller. It's up to Robert Smith to approve a set of gloves that are approved by the British Boxing Board of Control, which are those gloves. I mean, you know, we were stopped from coming in the stadium. I'm listening to it going, I can't actually believe what I'm hearing. And I liked it because not everyone will get it, but I believe a lot of people are listening to that. I mean, you know, I wanted to speak about specific things up there, and I hoped once I told him what I wanted to speak about, he would at least let me do that. He didn't have the decency to even let me do that. He ain't a nice kid, as far as I'm concerned.
Could that lead to, I mean, a different
of course.
being taken?
I mean, I'm not the bull, but you can't say things like that. You know, and it's not even about, no, I'm speaking my truth. It's lies. That's the difference. I don't care. If I really went up to a paramedic, right, and the British Boxing Board of Control and went, mate, I know you've got to take him to hospital, but hang on 20 minutes so they're late. For fuck's sake. I mean, unless you've got no brain, you might be listening to that going, I can't believe Eddie Hearn's done that. And that's why I gave him the opportunity to say it again, because I couldn't believe what I was actually hearing. And he says, oh, what are you going to do, sue me? Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely. Because you ain't accusing me and my company of things like that. Because I haven't worked, and my dad hasn't worked his whole life with a reputation in the sport that, by the way, for some reason, you seem to think doesn't exist. For you to make up lies about our company. And that will be dealt with.
You wanted to say some words about Ricky Hatton as well up there. I mean, just some words.
I just wanted to, look, I just feel like everybody should be talking about Ricky Hatton. You know, Conor was up there today, you know, wearing the shirt. This is a guy that was so important to British boxing, but this was also a guy that was one of the great characters and personalities of our industry, right? And I believe that we should all be talking about how great Ricky Hatton was. He should be remembered forever. And ultimately, like I said, he was a guy that was built pre-social media. Imagine building that fan base from nothing. And how do you build that fan base? Because of the type of individual that you are. And there wasn't anyone that didn't feel sick to their stomachs on Sunday with the news. And I hope that he can be remembered forever. And may God bless Campbell and Matthew and the entire family, who can only imagine how they're feeling right now. So,
what does it do to Conor Benn's career trajectory if he does lose a game?
Look, I mean, you never want back-to-back defeats. Obviously, we know the future is at 147. We've got Lewis Crocker here. You know, there's a shot at the world title. But losing is a disaster for Conor. Yeah, I can dress it up to you and say, it's up at middleweight. It doesn't really matter. Now we go, but that's not what Conor Benn's about. You see a different Conor Benn in there today because all he's focused on is the performance in the fight and getting the victory on November 15th.
Ed, what do you know about Senior's whereabouts?
When you get an epic war like that, the rematch often is a little bit more dialed down historically. Do you think it will be more of a chess match?
I think maybe for the first couple of rounds, but you know, Conor Benn's Conor Benn. But I want him just to be a little bit smarter. We can't, like Nigel said, he's just winging away. And the heart's great, the balls are great, but you can outbox this guy as well. You're going to have to stand and fight because he's going to try and walk you down and be the bigger man. But just be a little bit smart with it as well.
Ed, what do you know about Senior's whereabouts?
Well, I mean, what?
Why isn't he with Eubank Jr?
What fucking hell am I supposed to know?
You might have your ear to the ground, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've absolutely no idea. I mean, maybe when he came to the fight, there was a specific reason. And maybe that reason didn't exist today.
What do you think the effect is of not having Senior in the corner then for the second fight?
No, he probably will be. I'm sure Senior will be there for the second fight.
What's your thoughts on Terence Crawford's win against Canelo and becoming a 3-weight undisputed
You know,
champion?
I'm disappointed with myself because I just thought that was what was going to happen the whole time. And then on Thursday and Friday, when I saw Canelo in the vest, I was like, nah. No, he's gonna pull it off here. And you know, it was an amazing performance by Terence Crawford. Yeah, I'm gutted for Canelo, but I'm actually pleased that Crawford is getting the opportunity to show how great he is, because his resume hasn't really allowed that. Don't get me wrong, he's got some good wins, but he could have beaten so many more of the elite guys from his era. And now that was a big win for him. I mean, he's 38 years old. And that to do that at that stage was very, very impressive.
Should Crawford retire?
Sorry?
Should Crawford retire?
Do you know what? Someone said the other day, and it's very true, because I actually said it about Usyk. We've got a real tendency, haven't we, to kind of try and retire people off. Do you know what I mean? Like I said with Usyk, I think now he should retire. And everyone's like, why do you want him to retire? It's like, I just think it's a great way to go out. I actually also think that Crawford could move down and win a world title at 160. And that would make him, what, 6 division champ? 5, 35, 40, 47, 54, 6 division champion. But the problem is Terence Crawford now is really only going to want a fight for big money. And there's only certain fights that can generate that kind of money. So Shakur, who's obviously very close to him, seemed to say so maybe that's it.
Is there big money in
What do you
this?
think Canelo should do?
I don't know. He was very honest, wasn't he? He said, look, my body's just not the same anymore. So maybe that's a sign that, you know, in answer to your question, Terence Crawford against Jaron Ennis, for me, is the best fight in American boxing. But it needs to be a payday for Crawford that would get him interested, because Crawford knows how good Boots is. And I'm not saying that Crawford thinks he's going to lose to Boots, but he knows that is a real fight. But for me, Boots is the new Crawford. We've just got to go out and get the fights to show how great he is.
What do you think of Dana's comments regarding him leading two of the biggest fights in boxing? And
I've answered that on aerial. I mean, firstly, if you call him Mayweather-McGregor one of the biggest fights, I mean, I know it did a big gate and pay-per-view, but let's be honest, it was an exhibition. And Terence Crawford against Canelo Alvarez wasn't his fight. It was Turki Al-Sheikh's fight that he was invited to be the promoter for. Turki put the money up. He made it happen. But Dana's going to be a force. You know, all this stuff like Eddie v. Dana. Oh, wow. I've never said anything to disrespect Dana White. He's a tremendous promoter. They run an incredible business there. I just don't think he's going to be as good as me in boxing. Like if I went into MMA, I don't think I'd be as good as him. But that's just my beliefs and my confidence. But I invite that. And you're never going to hear me talk badly about him because I like the guy. But I'm very excited by the challenge. And I think it's great that he's coming into boxing. Let's see if he's got the heart and the engine for it.
Jake Paul and Tank doesn't seem to be happening.
I saw that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I worry about those fights involving Tank anyway, because how can you put the plans together for an event of that magnitude not knowing what's what? So, yeah, I've not spoke to Nikita or heard from Jake Paul, but I just saw the reports earlier.
Is it feasible that the win? How you doing, Gunman Boxing?
I like your interviews.
The baddest boxing channel in the UK. I like your style too. Loving the swag.
Thank you.
Is it feasible that one of these two could fight Terence Crawford? The winner of this fight could fight Terence Crawford.
I saw Chris Eubank saying Eubank v Crawford in 2026. I don't want to be rude because Eubank beat Conor Benn. You know, it was out of his weight class. But At the moment, these guys are levels behind Terence Crawford. That's the reality, and I represent one of them.
Yeah.
Conor Benn can win world championships at welterweight. You're talking about a different kind of animal in Terence Crawford, right? A guy whose IQ is just off the level. You've got to have the experience, and you've got to be really well schooled to compete with that guy. That's why I said I like the Boots fight, because Boots is super well schooled. Like, that's a tremendous fight, but Conor's got a long way to go. You know, after this fight, we want to see him win a world championship at 147. Lewis Crocker's here, as I said, you know, that's a great fight to be made. But Crawford, you know, you got to get there, and Eubank, you know, Eubank showed he won a close decision against a welterweight last time out, and he keeps talking about when was the last time he fought a welterweight, blah blah blah. Conor Benn is a welterweight. You see that in the ring. But listen, there's different. Everyone's in the game for different reasons, and Eubank, and no shame in it at all, is money. And Conor Benn, of course, he wants to make money, but for this fight, all he cares about is redemption. And that's why you see a different Conor Benn today. It's not about the bullshit. It's just about getting your nut down and getting the job done on November 15th.
Absolutely. Last question from me. Does Conor Benn need to be much more technical? No swinging like Spider-Man. You know, needs to be a lot more, less wild.
That's a bit harsh on Spider-Man, but, you know, I think that Conor Benn was wild last time. How can you not, like, you haven't boxed for a year and a half. You've had all this shit you've gone through in your life. You've got this bloke who's doing your nutting, and then you go out there in front of 70,000. Sometimes you're going to revert to type. That experience that he gained will be critical in this fight. We've still got to go to war, but you just got to be a little bit cuter. He can outbox Eubank. He's better than Eubank, technically. But, you know, he's got to go in there and be smart with it whilst mixing it up and having that war which will inevitably unfold.
That's one more. Shakur and Tia are in deep talks. Are you involved in that fight? Shakur and Tia?
Not really. You know, I mean, I believe there's some talks for Netflix. I mean, you know, we're exclusive with The Zone, and that's where you'll see all our boxing.
Well, what's AJ doing?
With Bomac and Eubank's corner.
Yeah, I mean, Conor said you can't polish a turd. I thought that was a bit harsh, but ultimately, you're not going to change Chris Eubank Jr. Like, what's Bomac going to do? I mean, like, Eubank's Eubank. He's a good, tough fighter, but you're just not going to see him switch it up. And you know, I'm sure having Bomac in the corner will be an asset, but I don't think it's going to be the defining factor in this fight.
What time is Netflix on tonight?
It's already on, mate. How have you not watched it?
I've watched it, yeah.
You need to binge watch that shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Good man.
AJ said he wants to buy your place, and AJ said he wants
I've
to.
always said that. You know a story about Anthony Joshua? The first meeting I ever had with him, he walked into my office. Actually, it was my dad's office at the time. And we've got these oak doors, right? And they're about that thick. And he opened the door and he went, oh. And he started like banging the door. And he went, can I have these doors? I'm like, no, you can't have these fucking doors. Sign the contract first. And he's always said he wants to buy that house. So once he beats Tyson Fury, I might give it to him.
Eddie, a lot of talk about the impact and legacy that Ricky Hatton had on
Yeah.
All you have to do was look at Conor Benn.
Of course, that was, you know, it was all, I wanted to say a few words up there about him, and because I think it's so important that people understand how loved this guy was. I mean, Manchester knows it, the industry knows it. As you saw up there, it's a pretty toxic sport that we're in away from the ring, and I've never heard a bad word said about him, not once. I've never heard one person say, don't like that Ricky Hatton. Everybody loved Ricky Hatton because he made you feel like he was your mate. And as I said earlier, in a world where really he should have been focusing on helping himself, he was always more interested in helping others. You know, you saw that even in the last couple of weeks with video messages and try and be an inspiration for people that are struggling. So, you know, I think we can all learn from the fact that sometimes you can have that mask, but you never really know what someone's going through. And especially in this industry where it's macho to not show that kind of emotion or not talk. And I think we also got to understand that, you know, saying to people, if you're struggling, talk. It ain't that easy either. Sometimes you've got to, you know, try and intercept a problem. And this was a guy in Ricky Hatton. Let's just understand that he had those demons, yet he was one of the greatest fighters of all time. He was loved by everybody. He had a great family. He was a boxer, he was a trainer, he was a manager, he was a promoter, he was a role model. And all of these things couldn't take that unhappiness away. And on the outside, always remember, just because someone's standing up and having a laugh and talking, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So, I wanted to get that message across tonight. And our thoughts are with Campbell and Matthew and the whole Hatton family. Because if we're all devastated, which you know we are, imagine how that family are feeling right now. And may God bless his soul.
And how far do you think Conor Benn has sort of developed as a person over the last 12 months? Obviously,
Yeah, massively matured, and that's going to be really important in his performance. Like, because what you saw last time was unbelievable heart, but it wasn't a performance of maturity. So those 12 rounds are really important, and this time will be much better. All right, cheers.